He said that he had a really vivid dream of I guess his son being chased through the halls and stuff of the hotel, and he said it just felt so real.
They said there was a little boy named Timmy there that you can see roaming the halls that died.
There was a rumor in 2020 that the doll had escaped its enclosure at that museum.
Now it's time for the Change for Brains podcast.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Change for Brains podcast. Podcast where two regular guys share their nickel and dime thoughts on a variety of different subjects. And at the end of the day, you just got to ask yourself, does any of it really make sense? Episode number 9. And we're continuing our series on conspiracies and unsolved mysteries. And today we are talking about ghosts. Are ghosts real? We kind of touched base on this in episode 3, I believe it was, about some hauntings, around our area and whatnot. There was some pretty creepy stories there. But today we're talking about like some real famous hauntings and whatnot. Chris, what are your thoughts on ghosts? I think we've talked about it before, but how about you give us a refresher?
Definitely. I think that's something I definitely believe in. I haven't had any personal experiences or anything, but it's too many stories out there. I think that that seem to be kind of legit to me. So I do actually believe that ghosts definitely do exist, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And the scary thing is, if you get into that realm, it's if it's just ghosts or is there something more, some people believe they're demons, which is far more scary to me. But either way, yeah, I believe something exists. So you want to go ahead and start us off with some of your examples?
Yeah. So one of the ones I think that fascinates me probably the most, and it's of course because I'm obviously kind of a movie junkie anyway, and then with that, horror movies. So The Shining is probably one of my favorite horror movies. So that leads me to the Stanley Hotel, which is in Estes Park. It's near, I think it's kind of near Denver. So apparently a guy named Freeland Oscar Stanley, I guess in the early 1900s, was said to, I guess, have tuberculosis, really bad health, and apparently wanted to kind of move kind of to the mountains for the fresh air, and they were thinking that that might help his condition. So he moved there. It kind of sounded like people weren't really expecting him to make it. I guess after a year, apparently he fully recovered to great health after that. And I guess him and his wife decided to basically open up a hotel in that area because I guess they loved it there near Denver. Some pretty interesting stories. Apparently there was I'm trying to find her name here. I think there was a housekeeper that apparently they said that I went into room 217, which of course is one of the most famous rooms there. And apparently she struck a match and I guess wasn't aware. Apparently there was a gas leak at the time. A big explosion. Apparently she was in a coma. I'm not exactly sure how long. The article that I was reading said that I think that happened in like 1911. And it said she didn't return to work, I think, until like 1912, 1913. So apparently it was a pretty bad accident. She did come back to work. I think they said that she worked there until the 1950s or so. And of course, I don't know, what happened to her after that. But she's supposedly one of the people that haunts that room in the hotel. Apparently, there's stories of lots of guests, and apparently, I guess, have stayed in room 217. And they're saying that, like, they would have clothes that they tossed on the floor or something when they went to bed, or different things like that, just stuff scattered. And they would wake up and like their clothes would be folded, like things would be put back in place. So sounds like she's still doing her housekeeping job there in room 217. And then of course, that is dedication. She is still doing it today in room 217. The big story though about 217 in the hotel though is I think I read in the 1970s they said that the hotel was really in bad condition. It was going downhill. They weren't having a whole lot of guests there. And apparently one of the last nights of the season, so I guess they would shut down in the winter, so the roads, similar to the movie The Shining, how they would close because people couldn't get there because of the road conditions. Apparently Stephen King and his wife wanted to get away for a weekend, and they checked in, and apparently they were the only guest in the hotel at the time because they were getting ready to close. He said that he had a really vivid dream of I guess his son being chased through the halls and stuff of the hotel, and he said it just felt so real. Said he woke up, apparently smoked a cigarette, and I think by the time he finished smoking, apparently pretty much the rough outline for The Shining had come to mind, and he was pretty much ready to write that movie or write that book. And then really the only other thing about that hotel that's interesting to me, and I don't, as far as I'm aware of, I don't think that Jim Carrey ever revealed what happened. But there's a rumor that he stayed in that hotel when they were shooting Dumb and Dumber, and stayed in room 217. And the rumor is that he didn't make it through the night. Like he checked out abruptly and just left, did not return. So it does make you question, I don't know if that was just a stunt or if something happened and it spooked him so bad that he actually checked out in the middle of the night and went to find somewhere else to stay. So pretty creepy, but there's tons of stories around that hotel. And there's actually some pictures, who knows if they're valid or not, of supposedly of ghosts. I mean, obviously we're in the days of Photoshop and stuff, so you can't really tell how valid things like that are, but some of those look pretty legit.
Yeah, agreed. And that is a very famous hotel for that reason. Obviously, there wasn't two little girls standing at the end of the hall. At least I don't think so. That maybe. I guarantee, though, there wasn't blood that flowed out of an elevator.
Right.
That seems like a health violation. But yeah, I've heard some creepy stories of that place.
My next one, I guess, kind of involves really a few different hauntings, and that kind of involves, if anybody has seen the Conjuring movies, of course, Ed and Lorraine Warren were two big paranormal investigators that would go around, and of course, these are real people but they would go around to these houses, do investigations and things like that. So a few of those that they did, Amityville obviously is a huge one that they apparently investigated. Of course, obviously the story with Amityville is that basically someone shot and killed 6 family members in that house. They investigated that, I guess, and apparently what I had read is they had determined that they did think that it was haunted, but other people have kind of come out and said that they think that the hauntings are mostly a hoax and that there wasn't any truth to the hauntings. Of course, you've got the whole Annabelle, which obviously there's movies based around that too. So the Annabelle doll that was haunted, and I did research that. I know we were talking about this earlier. So apparently they did actually have it in their museum, the actual, I guess, Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if that, if they just, I guess, because I think they passed away, maybe if somebody bought their museum, because they apparently had a museum with all of the haunted possessions and stuff that they had throughout the years.
Yeah, so that Raggedy Ann doll supposedly will growl at people sometimes when you get too close to the case that it's in and rattle it. And that's why on that BuzzFeed episode, when Shane was walking up and taunting him, Ryan was like, "Stop. Don't." He's like, "I don't even want to take a chance." I was like, "Yeah, dude, screw that."
Well, it's said, I don't know if you remember where that museum that you were telling me about is, but apparently their house is in Monroe, and it says that there was a rumor in 2020 that the doll had escaped its enclosure at that museum, but it's been apparently disproven, and that the doll still remains in Monroe. So that makes me think that maybe they bought the Warrens,
maybe
that museum, because it sounds like it's still in the place that it was when they had it.
Yeah. Like we were talking about earlier, I don't know if there's 2 different museums or not. There's one in Las Vegas, and it's called Zach's something or another museum, and it's supposedly has a lot of haunted stuff in it. But I'm sure there's more than one museum with haunted, artifacts and whatnot.
But there's a lot. I mean, the Warrens are something you could talk about. I mean, they did tons of investigations through the years, so they're something that could be talked about for hours. But their big ones, of course, are Amityville was huge, and obviously the Conjuring house that those movies were based around. So my last one, and I think you actually have got a little bit of information that you can share on this one also. I didn't have as much time to research this one as I wanted, but it is a topic that really I find very interesting. So I've seen stories of, I guess, reincarnation that are pretty creepy. The one that I actually had saw a video on and did a little bit of research was basically a mom talking about her daughter just coming up to her one day and started telling her about a story about how she had been in a car wreck and her real family had died in the car wreck, and she gave like the just really very detailed accounts. I think I actually gave like family member names, like locations, like dates. And I guess the mom apparently researched a lot of this, and a lot of this had actually really happened. So pretty creepy, and does make you question if reincarnation couldn't be real in some instances, because there's lots of examples, and you were telling me about some earlier, I believe.
Yeah, and also the question would be, is it reincarnation or is it possession? Because it could be ghosts or, that have possessed these kids, which is a terrible thing to think about. But yeah, if you Google it, there's several, just stories of different things. And some of them just blew my mind. And like the one I was telling you about earlier, there was a mom sitting at a table one day crying, and her daughter, and the daughter was actually telling the story. She's an adult now, but her daughter was sitting with her, and I guess she had barely even, I don't know, she hadn't started talking yet or barely said any words, like she was learning to talk. So she must have been really young. And I don't know what the mom was crying about, but her daughter stops, looks at her, and goes, "Don't worry, honey, I'm your grandmother, and I'll take care of you." And then just went back to doing like baby stuff. And she said that her mom told her about it years later, and said as soon as she said that, her mom stopped crying. And she goes, probably because it scared the crap out of her. And yeah, that would freak me out. I mean, kids do some creepy things anyways. You've heard stories of them talking to people and having, "Oh, that's George, and he comes and sees me at night." And is it just imagination, or is it something creepier? So, but yeah, there's many examples of it if you look it up online. So I guess I will go ahead and start with my examples. My first one is the Queen Mary. It's a giant ship that's in Long Beach, California, and I guess you can go there. It's a tourist attraction. You can visit it and whatnot. But I guess during the time it's been around, 16 crew members and 41 passengers have died. Some have been from natural causes, other have been from more horrific things. One was one time when it was at sea. I guess it used to be like a battleship or an interceptor for the war, and it was going through the ocean, and they had caught up to another small ship that had, I think it was like 300 people on board, and the other ship couldn't get out of the way. Well, this ship's so big that it just cut through it, and some people got stuck on the ship, couldn't get out, and got dragged to the bottom of the sea, which would be a horrific way to die. But then the rest of them wasn't much better. A lot of them got hypothermia and died. And then some of them didn't survive at all. They got dragged under and tore up by the propellers of the ship. And they said it just would cause a giant bloodbath. And they say that in certain parts of the ship, especially late at night, you can hear like the screams of the people that died from that collision. There's been ghost hunters. There's been so many shows that have gone there and stayed the night and seen ghosts in the hallways. And there's actually a room. It's B484 that supposedly has a lot of interaction. One person said that while they were sleeping, it kept feeling like someone was poking them in the face. And they said it felt so real, like they didn't want to open their eyes because, what would be poking you in the face at 2 or 3 in the morning? And when they said they finally did, that there's somebody that was staying there with them, they thought it was somebody messing with them. They looked over, and that person was fast asleep snoring. There was another example of some ghost hunters who said that they went into that room, and I think they took a Ouija board. I could be wrong on that. And they said that they were quiet, and 2 of them were heavy Christian believing people, and they said that they had heard something say something, and they said, "We got to leave right now." And basically, when they got outside and got to the car, they're like, "What's your problem?" They're like, what that spirit or whatever it was said basically translated to that they were a demon, and so they were like, "We're not messing with that." So really creepy stuff. I don't know if I could stay there or not, but if you ever want to, you can book your room. The second place, which isn't much better, Waverly Hills in Louisville. We've talked about this before, both on another podcast and just over the phone several times. Was a hospital for people with, and you already brought somebody up with this, but tuberculosis. Opened in 1910. I don't know how many patients it had, but basically they didn't have a cure for it back then. So basically when someone got tuberculosis, they went there and they tried to keep them as comfortable as possible until they died. And there was a nurse there. I think they said that killed herself. They said there was a little boy named Timmy there that you can see roaming the halls that died. There's been another ghost. What was his name? Bobby. They say you can catch roaming the halls. And just a super creepy place. And I think the worst part of it all is they got a thing called a body chute, which I think you've seen videos of it. It's the only thing that scared Shane from BuzzFeed, Unsolved. And if anybody's ever watched that show, I'll bring it up several times because it's a great show. If you've never seen it, I recommend it. Shane is a non-believer. He doesn't believe in ghosts. He doesn't believe in demons. He's kind of iffy about aliens. But that body chute was the only place that he ever got creeped out, because it's this long, like, I don't know, half a mile long chute that goes underground from the hospital down to the road. And what it was for was when someone died, they didn't want to bring the bodies out and wheel them around for people to see. So they would take them down that chute down to a hearse or whatever, and then take them to be buried. And so just super creepy. And at night when they were in there, they would hear sounds, and just a really how would you say, just a feeling would come over you. Like, have you ever had that where you're in a place and you're just like, something doesn't feel right about being here? Like, you don't know what it is. It almost feels like anxiety, but it feels like something is there to get you. And the people have said they feel that they're very, very badly. So another place I don't plan on visiting anytime soon. And then my last place, which is probably the scariest place in America, or at least has been voted, I think, the most haunted place or house, is the Sallie House, which it's located in, I'm probably going to mess up this name, Atchison, Kansas. And there's a ghost of a little girl that apparently has been seen several times that has freaked people out. And there's been examples of lights just being turned off and on at random. Somebody had set a ball, and not like a little ball, like an exercise ball at the top of the stairs. And they said, if something's here, please move that ball. And that ball went flying down the stairs, which would have been followed by me flying through the wall, the window, whatever I could have used to get out of there. they said that they a group or a family that used to live there, their kids' room, they had these stuffed animals, and they were all like put neatly in one spot, and they would leave and they would come back, and they had been put in a circle, and they couldn't understand why, and they had moved them back, and it had happened again. And this is another example. I think like their kid had seen their baby, or I don't know how old she was, but she had seen something in that room, and it freaked the family out, and they ended up moving out because of that. But another example too is BuzzFeed, which like I said, I'll bring them up a lot. That's the only place that Ryan, the other co-host, could not stay. He got so scared that he tried to sleep, and he just said he couldn't do it. He said the feeling was so uneasy that he could not do it, which if you watch the video, it's kind of understandable, because they turn on these flashlights and they're talking to the spirit, and they say, if something's in here, turn it on. And then they'd say, if you want us to leave, turn it off. And it did it like almost every time, like on cue. And I think they even asked, if you want to kill us, turn the light back on. It turned on, and that's when Ryan like literally ran outside. And again, I can't say I blame him. So I guess again, the question is, are ghosts real? And it sounds like the consensus is between me and you, yeah, we believe they are. There's even times that, I mean, just places I've been that I've felt like, you know, something's not right there, and it felt like it's haunted, and you find out someone's died in that house, or like in hospital sometimes, you know, there's such uneasy feelings. So I hope I never have like encounters as like some of these people have. I've said this jokingly to other people, you know, I'll watch it from afar. I'll watch videos on it. I try not to at night, because then I'll stay up half the night thinking about it. But if you're interested in that stuff, let us know in the comments. Give us some examples of your stories, and yeah, I don't know what else to say on it. I think I'm going to get off of it, because I want to be done talking about this before nighttime. So we're going to move on to the movie segment of the podcast, which I actually did not prepare you a movie line this week, so I apologize about that. I've been super busy trying to get this podcast and the other podcast we're going to be shooting ready. But do you have some movie reviews that you want to do?
Yeah, I've got one that I'll do. This one I actually watched probably I think I watched this last week. So I'll do, and actually it's pretty fitting with the topic today. So I watched The Pope's Exorcist. So and I may actually not pronounce his last name right, but it's apparently about a Italian priest, Gabriel Amorth. That was actually a real priest that actually apparently did exorcisms for the Vatican. As far from everything I've read, I think the Pope's Exorcist movie is it's not based on any real case or anything that he had, but it is loosely based around him. So this movie, a couple things about it. Runtime on it's 1 hour and 43 minutes. So this one does star Russell Crowe. So a couple other places ratings I'll give first. So IMDb gave this a 6.2, Rotten Tomatoes 50%, Metacritic 45%, and then 91% of Google users like the movie. So I don't know if I've ever really given a kind of a comparison on what I think of movies and where my ratings fall, but anything over, I would say 50% is at least somewhat enjoyable to me. So this movie, I would probably give a 60 cents probably out of $1. As far as, I mean, there's so many exorcism movies and stuff out there. It doesn't really bring anything new to the table to me. It's a good movie. It is enjoyable. And again, Russell Crowe is a great actor. I know some people made fun of his accent in this movie, which is, I mean, I guess if you pay really close attention to it and overthink it, I guess you could kind of poke fun at that a little. But He did a great job. I mean, it is a good movie. It's enjoyable. I do recommend watching it, but say 60 cents out of $1. I think it's a pretty fair rating. Definitely still worth watching though.
Is it more creepy, or is it just a bunch of jump scares kind of thing? Like I heard that movie, The Nun or whatever, was more that than anything.
There's a little bit of the jump scares. It's just really just a creepy. I mean, obviously any possession stuff is creepy to me anyway, because going back to our conversation earlier, that obviously is something that I do 100% believe in. So that's kind of a creepy topic anyway. But yeah, some jump scares, but I mean, just the atmosphere and stuff is pretty good in this movie.
Yeah, exorcisms are just scary as hell anyways. I mean that literally. It's, if you've ever seen or heard audio of real ones, I mean, someone sounds like they're getting their heart ripped out, like screaming and saying just weird stuff. And some people just say it's mental health, but I don't know.
It's weird to me. I mean, some of those you hear of them, like kids and stuff, just randomly start eating bugs and animals, and I mean, just creepy stuff that just from being fairly normal to just that extreme. I mean, it does make you wonder if something's not going on there, and it's not just a mental health situation.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, mental health is a major issue, which we'll touch on in another podcast, but it seems too far gone. And like you said, they could be normal one week, and then the next week they're, cursing God and wanting to kill people, and it's very dark. So, well, I think we're gonna wrap this one up. We got another podcast we're shooting tonight, but it won't be up till next week. Do you got anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered everything that I was thinking.
I know there was a lot of ums and whats and, thoughts behind this, but truth is, with ghosts or demons or any supernatural kind of stuff, you never know what's true and what's not. There obviously is some truth to it because there's so many different stories. And, yeah, man, it's creepy. Anyways, guys, I want to say thanks for watching. If you like this, give us a subscribe on YouTube. Share us if you want to. Follow us on Facebook. We're Change for Brains on there too. And we're on basically every other social network. So I guess until next time, guys, we are cashing out. See ya.